the dream Catholic wife for 27, 28 years. And then she was feeling distant.
It was obviously yes for life, yes for kids, yes for we're on this mission together, yes I love you, yes I really like you, yes we enjoy each other's company. It was yes, good times and bad, what you say in the vows. It was totally yes.
So then he moved out of the house. He left. He abandoned the family.
I couldn't even believe that this had happened to a happy family. We didn't argue.
Well, you know, I think the terrorizing moment of this is, you know, he was really my best friend. He really was, I thought, my other half.
If I didn't have kids at home that kept me going, I wouldn't have kept going. And if you don't have your faith, you jump off the roof.
And I think for children, forcibly removing a parent from children is one of the most wicked things you can do. It's really bad. So I was very, very sad.
I've read this book called Primal Loss, The Now Adult Children of Divorce Speak. There was a testimony of 70 different, mostly Catholic, children of divorce who even as adults struggle with their parents' decision. And they're so devastated because they don't want their parents to know how deeply hurt they've been.
The idea that we shouldn't stay together for the children, well, it also implies that a family doesn't also belong to the children. I mean, it's the children's family that you're taking away.
Layla, what a point.
For the children of divorce, it never ends. They're navigating these complicated situations and their pain and their insecurities throughout their entire lives. It doesn't end for them. It may end for the parents who go on and find another romance, but it does not end for the kids.
And I remember being alone in the house, and I was reading this book, and I was just screaming and praying because it talked about the side effects for children of divorce. They lose their faith, they can't have relationships, they have addictions, they fail in school. All the signs show this, and I was just so upset.
We were a church-going family. We prayed the rosary. I would say after 6 months after the divorce, they were pulled out of Catholic school. Nobody goes to church anymore. And my relationship with them is just, I'm afraid I might be alienated from them for the rest of my life.
He was furious. He says, Dad, you and Mom taught us from when we were little that marriage is for life. How dare you? Is this your idea or Mom's?
So they're trying to be respectful for both parents, but they actually think that the parent who wanted to keep the marriage together was the one who was at fault.
Paul says, it's not me, it's the Lord who says that don't divorce, but if you do separate or divorce, you are to remain single or reconcile.
Civil divorce means, just in the eyes of the state, in the eyes of the church, you are married.
I never went in front of a judge to be declared married. I went before an altar, before the altar of God, by a priest, to be declared married.
The Catechism, paragraph 2384-85, says that divorce is a grave offense, which qualifies it for a mortal sin.
If the abandoner gets remarried, that adds to the gravity.
I say to you, whoever divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery, and he who marries a divorced woman commits adultery. The disciples then follow this with a statement in which they say, if such is the case of a man with his wife, it is not expedient to marry. They're saying, Jesus, this is really hard. And he says, basically, I know it's hard, but I'm telling you the truth. Because, and we know it's the truth, because from the beginning, God created them male and female, and the two become one flesh. So the reality is that divorce is not possible. You can't separate two people who are really married.
And if you were to go say, oh, okay, I'm single again, or oh, the court told me this, I'm not really married. When you say that, it's a lie. It's a lie.
In the eyes of the Catholic Church, a civil divorce does not free persons from a valid marriage before Almighty God. Therefore, remarriage would not be morally licit unless the first marriage has been declared annulled by Holy Mother Church. Nevertheless, the Church wishes, of course, to reach out to divorced Catholics, whether remarried or not. As stated in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph number 1650, reconciliation through the sacrament of penance can be granted only to those who have repented for having violated the sign of the covenant and of fidelity to Christ, and who are now committed to living in complete continence.
Because right now people are just like, well, if you're abandoned or if you want out, as long as you get that annulment, you're okay. And they're forgetting that the abandonment in and of itself is a sin, whether you have the annulment or not.
Since my marriage was evaluated and it was not determined that it was null and void, you know, that's even more motivation for me to be faithful to it.
Although I have made it clear, I am standing and I'm here forever. I think they think I'm nuts. I think they feel like she just can't let go. And she's holding on to something that's not going to happen.
It becomes more clear to me as I live my life that this was the best decision, one of the best decisions I ever made, is to stay committed to her, even though she doesn't respond to me to this day, doesn't want to talk to me whatsoever.
My biggest recourse, the greatest thing, which I recommend to anybody, is to read the Catechism. It's section 1600. I've read it, you know, dozens of times, and it just explains what marriage is. And it was from that text that I really felt strength. It was almost immediate.
This is about truth. This is about me. If everyone thought I was insane, okay, that's not my problem. This is me and God, and this is truth. And, you know, when I face my death and I see Jesus, I want him to be able to say, well done.
I can't go find a new family. God gave me this one.
I'm married. I'm in this for life. I'm going to fight for this. I'm going to be committed to this.
I prayed and vowed and made my oath to God. And I had to keep it because I have to answer to God. And if he chooses to walk away, everybody's accountable. And I have to do the right thing.
I read if I could be loyal to the sacrament, even by living separately for the rest of my life, I could still bring graces into the family because the sacrament remains. We all know this. The civil divorce does not break the bonds of marriage.
I am certainly praying for reconciliation. I'm praying for that to happen.
God willing, there'll be reconciliation and we can correct the problem. But don't give up the ship. It's not worth it.
I met Bay McFarland, who established Mary's Advocates. And she was in the same predicament I was in, you know, abandoned by her spouse, and she decided she was going to do something about it in a very formal, explicit way.
Mary's Advocates is a nonprofit organization that I founded starting in like 2004, and it serves kind of two purposes. One is to support those who are separated faithful, that recognize that they're still married even though they're civilly divorced or separated, we know they're still married. And the other one is to try to reduce unilateral no-fault divorce.
Mary's Advocates group has been very helpful. And then Christine Bacon's group has just been great.
You know, in this society where people say cut and run, get out, go get happy, standards are those saying it's not about my happiness, it's about my holiness. And I'm going to stand and do what I promised God I would do on the altar. Yes. Whether you've remarried the other woman or other man, whether you've had a child with someone else.
It's one thing I find also about finding Catholics who believe strongly, who uphold the sacrament of marriage strongly, you know, that it is just part of us.
Now I have maybe a couple of dozen people I can contact and share my journey with.
I feel it was divine intervention. Truthfully, I don't know how it all happened, because these people turned out to be like my best friends.